To test out our map and see how well it works, we need to re-enable the director and our AI survivors. Working with the nav mesh will sometimes disable the director or remove the survivor entities. We can go into detail about the various commands we can do in order. However, the fastest way to make the map playable is to simply turn off cheats and reload the map. So, SV cheats 0, director start, cheats 1, start, just to make sure the director is started, and then map, tutorial 1. Again, you can be created with the map as unplayable sign. Disregard this for a third time. What you'll notice at this point is the map is practically playable. There are wandering zombies. They can follow you through brushes, and the game seems to play correctly. At this state, it's a good idea to do all of your testing, and to make sure the AI doesn't have any bugs. Because this is a tutorial map, let's go ahead and finish the nav mesh. To do this, the mesh needs to be analyzed. Think of it as compiling your nav mesh. The nav engine calculates all of the squares in your map and makes the game playable. To begin, you need to turn on the nav editing tools again. Nav edit 1. And finally, we need to analyze it. So nav analyze. Nav analyzing, like compiling, takes a lot of system resources. In our tutorial map, this should analyze fairly quickly. Large and massive maps are exponentially longer. In Map 2 of Fort Noesis, it takes nearly as much time to analyze the nav mesh as full HDR compiling. Once the map is done analyzing, the map is unplayable box is finally removed. Our map is now playable in Left 4 Dead. Now let's check out the campaign. Now you can go back to the console and turn the director back on with director start. Then save your map with nav save, and restart the map by typing map and then the map name. Once the map starts up, you'll probably want to turn nav edit and Z debug back to 0 so you don't have the nav mesh info getting in your way. Okay, the intro is over and I've turned on zdebug 1 and navedit 1. There are many different attributes you can assign to the nav mesh. Each of these have different responses from the AI within the square. They are also used to make the map functional. To have a playable map in Left 4 Dead, you need to properly place these attributes. The player start is important in your map because it requires two separate attributes. The player start attribute tells the game where the players start the game. Checkpoint tells the game not to send common infected into attack or spawn boss infected until you leave the squares. A common problem between developers is the mobs rushing in and beating on the survivors during the intro. The checkpoint attribute will fix this. To assign this attribute, just look at the square, open up your console, type in mark, and checkpoint for checkpoints. And if you want to do player start, just type in mark player start. You see it removed them both because I need to reassign them. There are two other attributes you can see. Empty means no wandering infected will spawn in the square. No mobs means the director will not spawn a mob rush in the square. You can use no mobs to force the director to place mob rushes farther away in the game, so it gives a good feeling of depth. However, placing too large of a section in no mobs may break the game. If the director is unable to spawn mobs close enough, they may not be able to find you in time. In which case, it will play that familiar mob music, however, there won't be any infected to chase you down. Let's get some of the other attributes. Escape room attribute tells the survivor bots how to get to the safe room. This is automatically generated by analyzing the map. You can see that each of the squares along the routes the bots need to take is marked with the escape route attribute. And this is automatically generated. Here's a ladder. Areas with a blue hash mark in it means crouch. This attribute tells the bots that they need to crouch when they approach the square. This is another automatically generated attribute. Blue squares in the mesh mean many different things. In this situation, they represent areas of the mesh which are obstructed by this physics forklift. Generally, the AI will try to avoid these squares when possible. The rescue closets are sections of the mesh which tell the AI that rescued survivors will spawn in this room. A section of the mesh must have this attribute rescue closet and have a corresponding survivor rescue closet entity inside to work properly. Generally, if you have placed the entity in your map, then the map will automatically analyze the safe room. However, sometimes you have to manually set them. Again, this one, you can just open up the console and type in mark, rescue, closet. Zoom to the final checkpoint. Once you reach the checkpoint, you'll see that the mesh has a checkpoint attribute assigned to it already. Like rescue closets, this generally automatically assigns when you generate the mesh. If you generate your mesh and it is not automatically assigned a checkpoint attribute, then chances are you built your safe room incorrectly. Building a safe room correctly and making sure the flow and mesh are named correctly work in tandem together. Without any one of them, your map won't work properly. And even when I attempt to close and open the safe room door, the map won't start map 2. This is because nav edit is on. Turning it off will allow you to transition to the next map. However, let's just load the map with the console. A good trick to editing your mesh without having the annoying director spawn infected, or the survivor bots getting in your way, is binding a key to generating a nav mesh. You can get the bots and infected out of your map by simply entering nav_generate_incremental into the console. You don't need to place a walkable node for this either. What this will do is it will automatically put the game into an edit mode for easier development. Like before, the room is assigned the checkpoint attribute. Checkpoint to checkpoint maps challenge every developer at some point, because if all of the rules aren't followed correctly, your map just won't work. The most common bug most checkpoint to checkpoint maps have is that the players spawn at the wrong checkpoint upon map reload. This is because the engine can't determine which checkpoint is the player start and which is the destination checkpoint. Remember, you must have the first map change brush assigned to the first landmark entity, while the second room is assigned to the second landmark entity. You also must make sure the brush will transition to your previous map, however, have its flag set to previous map and disabled. If you forget to do this, your map will be stuck in an infinite loop of loading when you enter the safe room. Now let's look at the final map. Go back to your console and load L4D_NOE3 now. The finale in map 3 needs a correctly assembled nav mesh to work properly. This includes having a finale attribute and an escape vehicle attribute. When developing your finale, it's a good idea to make sure that the survivors can't run back to the safe room and exploit the map. And here we have a one-way connection. As you can see, the survivors will start, they'll climb up the stairs, and they will have to hop down to get into the finale attribute squares. And they are unable to get back up. This allows us to make only this top section of the map a finale. To start the finale, all players must be located within the finale nav mesh. Otherwise, when you attempt to start it, you will receive a warning saying that you need all the survivors to be ready. Once you have the finale set up, you want to have some battlefield areas in the map. This tells the bots that once the finale is started, these are the best places to hold out. In these battlefield attributes, there are secondary attributes labeled Battle Station. Yeah, here's one. These Battle Station attributes are specific mesh squares the AI can use to determine where the best place to defend these battlefields are. These are best used behind sandbags and places of cover. Once the finale helicopter comes, there is one last attribute which is important to finishing your campaign. This is the escape vehicle attribute. Once the finale gets to the part where it triggers the escape vehicle to come, the AI will make their way to the escape vehicle nav mesh square. The survivor bots will make a beeline to this square. However, if you're incapacitated, they'll run back and rescue you. I've only gone over some of the required attributes. However, there are many more to choose from. Each affect the AI in different ways. If you want to learn more about them, you can find them on Valve's wiki located at the address below.